Ladies and gentlemen, there will come a time in your life, if it hasn't come already, when nothing makes sense, when the plans you drew up fall apart, when the prayers you whispered seem to echo into emptiness. You will stand there wondering, why? But let me tell you something today. Confusion is not the absence of God. It is often the work of God. You see, life's most important lessons are not always learned on the mountaintop. No, they're learned in the valley, in the places where it's dark, where it's uncertain, where every step feels like it might be the wrong one. That is where character is built. That's where faith is forged. Faith is not about knowing every answer. Faith is trusting even when you have none. It's easy to trust when the sun is shining. It's easy to believe when the doors fly open. But true trust, real, mature trust, is built when life doesn't add up and you still say, I believe. Understand this, God sees what you can't. He knows what you don't. He is moving pieces you can't even see. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like a detour is often a delivery. If you could see the full picture, there would be no need for trust. That's why we walk by faith, not by sight. That's why you keep going even when you don't understand. That's why you stay steady even when it feels like nothing's happening. Sometimes in life, we are taught to believe that clarity is a reward for doing everything right. We grow up thinking that if we plan carefully enough, work hard enough, pray long enough, then somehow life will open up like a well-drawn map showing us every step we need to take. But the truth is, some of the greatest seasons of growth you will ever experience come not when everything is clear, but when everything feels confusing. When the path is hidden, when the future looks uncertain, when you don't know whether to turn left or right, that's often when you are being shaped the most. Confusion isn't a punishment. It isn't a sign that you're lost or that you failed. It's a sign that you are being prepared. Growth doesn't happen when everything is comfortable. It happens when you are stretched. It happens when you are pushed beyond what you thought you could handle. It happens when you have to learn to trust something, or rather someone bigger than yourself. Confusion forces you to let go of your pride, your illusion of control, your tight grip on how you thought life was supposed to unfold. It breaks you out of your limited vision and begins to open your eyes to a deeper understanding, one that can't be taught through lectures or easy days. Think about it. When has your character ever been truly strengthened? Was it when life was easy, or when life was hard? Was it when you had all the answers, or when you were forced to keep walking even without them? Struggle teaches endurance. Uncertainty teaches dependence. Waiting teaches patience. And confusion teaches humility. It's in those moments when you don't understand that you learn to listen more carefully, to pay attention to the still small voice, to seek guidance outside of your own understanding. Too often, we think confusion means God has left us, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Sometimes God hides the details because if we knew everything, we would either run ahead without Him or shrink back in fear. He gives us just enough light to take the next step and nothing more. Not because He enjoys keeping us in the dark, but because He wants us to learn to walk closely with Him, step by step, not sprint ahead based on our own limited view. The seasons where nothing makes sense are not wasted seasons. They are sacred seasons. Sacred because they test what you really believe. Sacred because they strip away the noise and distractions and reveal what your foundation is built upon. Sacred because they prepare you for what's next. Every great calling, every significant destiny is preceded by a season of preparation. And preparation often looks like confusion on the surface. When you're confused, you are being invited to grow. You are being invited to press in deeper, to trust when it's hard, to develop strength that a smooth road could never teach you. Life's confusion is not a curse. It's an opportunity to mature, an opportunity to see with new eyes, an opportunity to become the person who can carry the weight of the blessing that's waiting on the other side. If you find yourself in that place today, where nothing makes sense, where your plans have crumbled, where the road is hidden, don't lose heart. Don't assume you've taken a wrong turn. Sometimes the greatest journeys begin exactly where confusion enters in. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Growth is happening even when you can't see it yet. Faith is not about understanding everything. If it were, it wouldn't be called faith. It would just be called logic. It would be called calculation. It would be called control. But faith is something higher. Faith steps in when understanding runs out. Faith lives in the space between what you can figure out and what you cannot see. In that space, though uncomfortable, is where real strength is born. Too many people wait to trust until they feel safe. They wait to move until they have all the answers. But if you need every detail before you act, before you believe, before you trust, then you are not walking by faith. You are walking by sight. And sight will only take you so far. Sight will show you the obstacles. Sight will show you the odds. Sight will show you every reason why you should give up. But faith, real faith, shows you the promise. It shows you the purpose. It reminds you that even though you can't see how it's all going to work out, you are not walking alone. When life doesn't make sense, when you are caught in situations you didn't ask for, in battles you didn't plan to fight, that's when you find out what kind of faith you really have. Do you trust only when the path is paved and the weather is clear? Or do you trust even when the storm clouds gather, even when the path disappears beneath your feet? Faith is trusting that God is still good when the news is bad. Faith is believing that there is still a way forward when every door has slammed shut. Faith is holding on to hope when your hands are trembling, when your heart is breaking, when everything inside of you wants to quit. Faith is not passive. It's not sitting back and saying, I hope things get better. No, real faith is active. It stands up in the middle of the storm and says, I don't understand it, but I will still trust. I don't see it, but I still believe. I don't have the full picture, but I know who does. If you can only believe when it's easy, you haven't touched real faith yet. Real faith is tested. Real faith is refined. Real faith looks like Abraham stepping out from everything familiar, not knowing where he was going, but trusting the one who told him to go. Real faith looks like Joseph, sitting in a prison cell, wrongfully accused, and yet somehow still holding on to the dream God placed in his heart. Real faith looks like walking into the fire, like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, believing that even if God doesn't rescue you the way you hope, he is still worthy of your trust. Understand this. There will be times when you feel lost, times when you feel abandoned, times when you pray and heaven seems silent. But silence is not absence, and confusion is not a contradiction to God's goodness. He is still working even when you cannot trace his hand. He is still faithful even when you cannot see his face. He is not waiting for you to figure it all out. He's asking you to trust him when you can't. Faith is not about getting all the answers. It's about trusting the one who is the answer. It's about leaning not on your own understanding, but acknowledging him in all your ways, believing that he will direct your path, even when the path doesn't look like what you expected. It's a choice you make daily, to believe, to surrender, to walk forward, even through the fog, even through the fire, even through the tears. If you live by faith, you won't always understand the why. You won't always understand the how, but you will know the who. And when you know who you are trusting, that's enough. That's more than enough to carry you through. There's a reason we are called to trust and not to lean on our own understanding. It's because our view is limited. Our perspective is narrow. We see today, God sees forever. We see what's right in front of us. God sees 10 steps ahead, 10 years ahead, an entire lifetime ahead. And when life doesn't make sense, when everything around us feels chaotic, we have to remember, God is not confused. God is not panicking. God is not scrambling to fix the things that we think are falling apart. He already sees the full picture, and he is already working for our good. It's hard for us because we want to understand. We want to make sense of it all. We want explanations that fit into our human minds. But sometimes the very things that seem like setbacks are setups for something greater. Sometimes the doors that close in your face are not rejection, they are protection. Sometimes the delays that frustrate you are divine pauses, giving you time to be strengthened, to be prepared, to be made ready for what's coming next. You can only see the piece. God sees the masterpiece. You can only see the pain. God sees the purpose behind it. And if you knew what he knows, if you could see what he sees, you wouldn't worry the way you do. You wouldn't doubt the way you do. You wouldn't lose sleep over the things that you think are out of control because you would know they are already in his hands. Think about how much of life has looked confusing at first but made perfect sense later. How many times have you faced something you didn't understand only to look back months or years later and say, now I see why that had to happen. That's because there's always more going on than you realize. What looks like random pain is often precise preparation. What looks like a coincidence is often a divine connection. When God moves, He moves with strategy. He moves with precision. Even in the middle of what feels like confusion, there is a plan unfolding. You may not feel it. You may not see it. But your lack of seeing doesn't stop it from being real. You can't see the roots growing under the soil, but that doesn't mean the tree isn't being prepared to rise. You can't see the foundation being laid under the ground, but that doesn't mean the building isn't about to go up. The invisible work is often the most important work. We get frustrated because we're looking at our watch. We're counting the days, the months, the years, but God is not moved by our clock. He operates on His timeline, and His timing is perfect. He knows what needs to happen inside of you before He brings you into the next season outside of you. And if He is making you wait, if He is letting things look messy for a little while, it's not because He's forgotten you. It's because He's setting you up for something better than you asked for. Trusting that God sees what you can't means releasing the need to control. It means admitting that maybe you don't have the full story yet. It means choosing to believe that even when the scene doesn't make sense, the story is still being written by the best author there is. It means standing still when your flesh wants to run, being patient when your emotions want to panic, and declaring, God, I trust you, even when I don't understand. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it yet. But God's hand is on your life. His eyes are on your future. And what He has prepared is greater than anything you can see with your natural eyes right now. Trust His vision more than your own. Trust His way more than your own. Trust that even now, He is working all things together for your good. Character is not built when everything is easy. It's not developed on sunny days when everything goes your way. Character is forged in the heat of struggle, in the pressure of difficulty, in the tension of not knowing how it's all going to turn out. You don't become stronger by avoiding battles. You become stronger by walking through them. You don't build patience when everything happens on your timetable. You build patience when you have to wait longer than you thought you could. You don't develop endurance when the race is short and smooth. You develop endurance when the road is long, when your legs are tired, and you choose to keep moving forward anyway. The truth is, struggle reveals what comfort hides. When everything is going well, you don't really have to confront what you believe. You don't have to test your faith. You don't have to dig deep for strength or resilience. But when you face hardship, when the pressure mounts, when things don't go your way, that's when the real you comes out. Struggle pulls the hidden parts of you into the light. It shows you where your foundation is strong and where it needs to be repaired. It exposes the cracks so they can be healed. And it strengthens the parts of you that you didn't even know were there. Nobody asks for struggle. Nobody wakes up and says, I hope today is hard. But without resistance, there is no growth. Just like a muscle needs resistance to grow stronger, your spirit, your mind, your character needs challenge to expand. Every tear you cry, every disappointment you endure, every moment you choose integrity over compromise when it would be easier to quit. All of that is building something inside you that success alone could never build. It's giving you resilience. It's giving you the kind of strength that lasts. Character built through struggle doesn't just help you survive tough seasons. It prepares you to carry blessings with wisdom and humility. It prepares you for leadership, for influence, for opportunities that require maturity. Without struggle, success would destroy you. Without struggle, doors would open that your character wouldn't be able to keep you in. God allows the struggle not to break you, but to build you, to fortify you, to make sure that when the blessing comes, you are ready to sustain it. There are things you are learning in your struggle right now that will become the very tools you use to help others later. There are strengths being developed that will become your testimony, your ministry, your wisdom. Struggle is not wasted. Every hard day, every tough decision, every battle that you fight in silence, it is all part of the construction side of your soul. God is building something greater inside you than you can see right now. When you look at people who walk with wisdom, who move with authority, who love with compassion, and lead with humility, understand that those qualities were not handed to them. They were built through seasons of loss, seasons of confusion, seasons of discipline and perseverance. They paid a price for their character, and so will you. But it's worth it, because the person you become through the struggle is stronger, wiser, and closer to the image of who God created you to be. So don't despise the struggle. Don't waste your pain. Don't rush to escape the discomfort. Lean into it. Let it do its work. Let it teach you. Let it refine you. Because the struggle you endure today is shaping the strength you will walk in tomorrow. And the character being built inside you will be a foundation no storm can shake. One of the hardest lessons to learn in life is that just because something is delayed doesn't mean it's denied. We live in a world that moves fast. We want everything now, answers now, opportunities now, success now. And when it doesn't happen on our schedule, it's easy to start thinking it's never going to happen. It's easy to believe that if it's not here yet, it must not be coming at all. But that is not how God operates. His delays are not his denials. His timing is not tied to our impatience. When you ask for something and it doesn't happen immediately, it's not because God didn't hear you. It's not because he doesn't care. It's because he's working behind the scenes, setting things in order, preparing you, preparing the situation, and aligning it all so that when it does come, it will be better than you even imagined. We often think we're ready before we really are. We think we can handle the blessing, but God knows if he gives it too soon, it could crush us instead of lift us. Sometimes the delay is mercy. Sometimes the delay is protection. Sometimes the delay is making sure that what you're asking for won't just show up in your life, but stay in your life. Look at the great stories of faith. Almost every major figure went through seasons of delay. Joseph had a dream as a young man, but he spent years in slavery and prison before he ever saw it fulfilled. David was anointed king as a boy, but he spent years running and hiding before he ever wore the crown. Abraham was promised a son, but he waited decades before Isaac was born. The pattern is clear. Delay is part of the process, not the end of the promise. In the delay, something happens inside you. You learn to trust deeper. You learn to be faithful with what's in your hand, not just obsessed with what's in your future. You learn to walk by faith and not by sight. You learn to surrender your timeline and submit to God's timing. That's not easy. It takes humility to say, I don't know when, but I still believe. It takes strength to keep planting seeds when you haven't seen a harvest yet. It takes courage to keep knocking on doors when none have opened so far. But understand this. A closed door today doesn't mean a closed destiny. A slow season doesn't mean a stopped purpose. What God has for you is still for you. No delay, no obstacle, no human decision can cancel what God has already spoken over your life. Delay may stretch you, but it cannot stop you if you stay full. The enemy will try to use the delay to discourage you, to make you doubt, to tempt you to quit. But if you hold on, if you stay steady, if you keep believing even when you don't feel it, you will see that what God started, he will finish. His word will not return void. His promises are yes and amen. What he spoke in the light will still be true in the darkness. So don't mistake waiting for losing. Don't mistake silence for absence. Don't mistake the slow unfolding for a broken promise. Delay is not denial. Delay is preparation. Delay is building you up so that you don't just walk into your destiny. You thrive in it. You flourish in it. You honor God through it. The longer the delay, the greater the testimony when it finally comes. Keep standing, keep believing, keep trusting. Because what you are waiting for is already making its way towards you. And when it arrives, you'll understand that it was worth every second you had to wait. When life gets hard, when the path gets rough, when the road is longer than you expected, it's tempting to quit. It's tempting to look around at all the obstacles, all the delays, all the confusion, and ask yourself, is it even worth it? But purpose is not proven when everything is easy. Purpose is proven when you choose to stay the course, even when it would be easier to walk away. When you choose to keep moving, keep believing, keep building, even when nobody's clapping for you, even when nobody's watching you, even when you feel like you're the only one left standing. Purpose isn't about how you feel today. It's about what you are committed to over the long haul. Feelings will fluctuate. Emotions will rise and fall. But purpose stays steady. Purpose reminds you why you started in the first place. Purpose reminds you that there's something bigger at stake than your comfort, bigger than your convenience, bigger than your need for immediate results. Purpose is what keeps your feet moving when your heart feels heavy. Purpose is what keeps your eyes focused when distractions all around you try to pull you off course. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing. You have to hold that reason close to your heart, especially on the days when everything in you wants to let go. If you don't have a strong sense of purpose, you will live at the mercy of circumstances. Every bad break, every bad report, every hard day will have the power to knock you off track. But if you are anchored in purpose, you can endure things that would have broken you otherwise. Staying the course doesn't mean the journey will always make sense. It doesn't mean the path will always be straight or the way will always be clear. Sometimes you will have to walk by faith and not by sight. Sometimes you will have to keep showing up when you don't see the results yet. Sometimes you will have to encourage yourself when nobody else is around to do it for you. But every step of faith, every act of obedience, every moment of perseverance is not wasted. It's building momentum. It's building testimony. It's building the life you were called to live. Purpose is what separates those who finish from those who give up. It's not about who starts the fast. It's about who refuses to quit. It's about who keeps trusting God's voice even when other voices get louder. It's about who keeps sowing seeds even when the ground looks dry. It's about who keeps loving people even when they feel misunderstood or overlooked. Stay the course, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Stay the course, not because you always feel strong, but because you know God's strength is made perfect in your weakness. Stay the course because there is a generation watching you. Stay the course because there are prayers you prayed that are still working their way through unseen places. Stay the course because the reward for obedience is always greater than anything you could imagine. You might not see the fruit today. You might not see it tomorrow. But the harvest is coming. The breakthrough is coming. The fulfillment is coming. And when it does, you'll be able to say, it was worth it. Every tear, every late night, every lonely hour, it was worth it. Because you stayed true to the purpose that God placed inside of you. Because you trusted Him enough to finish the race He marked out for you. And when you cross that finish line, it won't just be about what you achieved. It'll be about who you became along the way. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we walk through this life, let us remember, trusting God is not just a suggestion. It's the foundation that holds us up when nothing else makes sense. We are not called to understand every step. We are called to trust the one who sees the entire path. We are not called to quit in the struggle. We are called to let the struggle shape our character. We are not called to panic in the delay. We are called to believe that the delay is part of the design. You may not see it now. You may not feel it now. But God is working. God is moving. God is aligning things in your favor, even in the silence, even in the confusion, even in the moments when you feel forgotten. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. You are being strengthened. You are being positioned for a greater purpose. So stay the course. Stay faithful. Stay committed to the vision God placed in your heart. When life doesn't make sense, when your prayers feel unanswered, when the weight feels heavy, trust Him anyway. Trust that your story is not over. Trust that the best chapters have not yet been written. Trust that your pain has purpose and your waiting is not in vain. Because in the end, it won't just be about how much you accomplished. It'll be about how much you trusted, how much you grew, how much you refused to give up when giving up would have been easier. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of trust that changes lives. That's the kind of heart God uses for greatness. Ladies and gentlemen, trust God, even when life doesn't make sense, especially when life doesn't make sense. That is where real faith begins. That is where your true journey starts. Thank you.